was tired of being afraid all the time, not knowing why. Sleepless, waking up terrified. I was tired of living in the past in fear. I had to change. Now I know, no matter how much I do change, I am left with me.
All right. We got basically another Music That Rides video. And unfortunately, it's going to be another rant video. Sorry, it's just going to be another rant video because I consider myself a creative professional, meaning I've been a desktop publisher, I've been a web developer, graphic designer, video editor, music producer, game creator, and developer for a long time. And today's news was just devastating for the bill that just passed. Don't get me wrong. I've supported Trump since 2016. Okay? I have supported Trump since 2016. And I still support him on this with the AI, kind of. But I got mixed feelings about it because if you are relatively new to the space, the internet is basically a battle of attrition. That's the best way to put it. The internet is quite literally a battle of attrition. It's a technology attrition bar, really. And what I mean by that is it works in two ways. Okay, so new technology comes in, okay, and you get a nice boom on the money, okay, and then it plateaus, and then whatever that boom is, progress takes place, and then cheaper for anything to be produced. Okay, so what I'm getting at is look at movies, for example. I'm trying to explain this to people that maybe ride motorcycles and you're not necessarily a content creator or something like that. Okay, but in short, look at the movie industry. Okay, it would cost tens of millions of dollars to make a movie. Well, as time has progressed, the cost to create a movie has actually gone down, except for the exorbitant amount of money that they basically pay the retards in Hollywood, exorbitant amounts of money for the actors. But eventually with AI, we're not going to need actors. So I'm trying to get back to the attrition thing. So the attrition in competitive, creative, and being creative and stuff like that is a lot of the time the playing field was hard work and creativity. With the advent of AI is beginning to create not only, special effects, it's creating even generative videos, it's creating fake chicks, it's doing a lot of stuff, and there's a cost threshold for that, right? So right now it's relatively cheap, but over time it's going to increase. The amount of content created by AI is going to increase and consolidate the power or the amount of money that is being generated to an even more select handful of individuals. And smaller creators and stuff like that are not going to be able to compete. I'll give you kind of a tertiary example of something that's happened on the internet, and maybe you guys aren't familiar with how the internet works too well, so I'm just going to try and explain this in the most simple ways. A few years ago, there was more or less a skibbity toilet phenomena, and it went like AIDS on the internet. Okay, and it's called open source genre is one term that it's often called. And in the open source genre, what happens is somebody makes a little video, okay, and then other people come in and start taking from that video, and it blooms out. Eventually, the person that thought of that kind of concept gets lost in the explosion. Because basically one guy creates something that's original, next thing you know, you got 200 other people doing it and pumping out 20 videos a day on the subject. Open source genres, okay? The latest example being the Yeti ape, okay? That's an open source genre. And at the top of that open source genre is basically a company that uses AI to generate an ape, okay? And then content creators can basically create their own Yeti videos and then put it on their social media and do it at very rapid amount, and boom, blossom even more. Amazing. But again, all it does really is consolidate the reaping of rewards to the people at the to an even smaller handful of people at the top. You know, right now, as it stands, there's a battle between original content creators and AI content creators. And sadly, with the passing of this bill, the AI content creators are going to actually outgun more or less hard work, normal creative content creators right on out. And there's a lot to fear on that. I mean, like in social media, there's like next to no money to be made right now in social media. So, I mean, anybody thinking about getting into space and creating a YouTube channel and growing it up is never going to happen. Never going to happen. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's just not going to happen. If it does happen, it's because you probably sucked somebody's dick. Legitimately. No joke. There's just so much ass kissing and kingmakers. You know, in the space now where, you know, the kingmakers basically decide who the next, you know, who they're going to actually invite to their little circle and, you know, generate, you know, at least some sort of standard living for somebody. So, I mean, there's kingmakers out there in content creation, and I don't think that that's the right. I hate it. I hate it. And then, you know, YouTube is the ultimate kingmaker because they're the ones that ultimately decide who gets a hall pass on the algorithm and who doesn't. You know, what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean the algorithm's not even? It's not even. It's not even. I'll use a perfect example like Crash Test Goat. I go to his live stream. He's created some very cool content in the past. His channel ended up getting more or less shadow banned. His content and his livelihood was stripped from him, and he's basically not able to generate any money. And the thing is there's other content creators in the space, just a handful of them, that they get the wealth of the algorithm. I think that there's some human intervention going on in the whole matter, but you know, some people are allowed to post basically a motorcycle crash every single day of somebody horribly getting scarred or even dead, and be rewarded for it by the algorithm, being rewarded for it on the internet by people curious about watching somebody get twisted up into a meat slab on the street. Sad. But okay, whatever. It just goes that way. So, you know, content creation is just tightening up, and I just wanted to like rant about it a little bit on my channel, you know, because like with this Music That Rides channel, I had an idea and I was going to stick to the idea. I had a plan how I was going to do it. I was going to use AI and generate creative, cool stuff, and I'm probably still going to do that. Okay, but nonetheless, it's just I'm throwing the script out largely because it's changing so fast. It's literally changing so quickly that, you know, it's harder for content creators to put money on the table. It's harder to get discovered now because there's so much noise with blossoming content going out everywhere. It's just getting nuts, you know? And so what am I going to do as a small content creator? I'm just going to hope people like you discover me, hit the follow button, the like button, and kind of continue. You know, I'm not always going to make rant videos, but I'm definitely going to bring you technology news, progress news, things that I go through on the motorcycle here, hopefully not from a hospital. I'm actually very, very careful on my bike. But at any rate, so yeah, until the next rant, just be aware. You know, if you're just thinking about getting into content creator status, don't do it. All you do is feed the big guys. You won't get shit. I promise you. Peace.